we're going to need a bigger podcast. Because today, we're diving headfirst into the deep end with one of the greatest summer blockbusters ever to bust a block. Jaws. That's right. It's the 4th of July. The beaches are packed. The mayor's in denial, and there's something in the water with a serious appetite. So grab your chum bucket and hop aboard the Orca, because we're pitting the great white shark against its biggest challenge yet, the bromometer. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Reel Bromance podcast. Welcome everyone to episode 9 of the Reel Bromance podcast. 9 episodes.
That's one more than 8.
One more than 8.
It's pretty good. It's pretty exciting. You know what they say about the 9th episode?
What's that?
It's time to start a merch store.
It's time to start a merch store.
Yep. You notice my shirt I'm wearing?
Oh, I do.
Can you describe it to our viewers, our listeners?
It's a beautiful midnight blue shirt.
Ooh.
With a nice gradient, which with the tagline across reading 2 bros, 1 mic.
Oh, that sounds lovely.
With our logo on the back.
Oh my goodness. If I wanted to buy one of these shirts, would there be a way to do so anytime soon?
Absolutely. We're actually building a merch store right now as we speak. So.
Oh my goodness. That's right. You can have your own merch and be a bro.
Yeah.
Just like us.
We have top men on it.
Top men working on designs and the store itself. So that's exciting. So if anyone wants to support the podcast, that would help us out tremendously. And you get some pretty cool swag. It looks pretty cool. It's very comfortable. It makes me look like I have a 6-pack under here. It's actually very muscular forming. So you're guaranteed to look better to anyone you may like or want to impress. Results may vary, and we guarantee nothing.
The studies have shown 50% of the time it works every time.
I think we've established that's good. So, also in other news, we have expanded the podcast into to another platform. What would that be?
We are officially on YouTube.
YouTube, but we don't do video. What's on YouTube right now?
All of our episodes are currently available on YouTube, but soon, very soon, people, you will get to see our beautiful punums on video.
I'm just doing one last push at the gym to make sure I look great for you guys. I'm going to let you down. Also, I have to look better than Matt.
1 hour is not going to cut it.
It'll do. It'll do, donkey. So stay tuned for that. But yes, you can catch up on all of our other episodes on YouTube if that is your platform of preference. You get a sweet logo with some audiograph going in the front so you can watch our words. Sweet.
Watch our words, yeah.
You could vote
loud sing ball.
Yep. Visualize me in my sweet swag shirt with my 6-pack and my bulging biceps.
Bulging biceps.
All right. Well, before...
Throw up in my mouth a little.
No, I think now that we've painted the picture for our audience...
We just lost
all of our audience. Now it's time to talk about the episode today. And what movie are we doing?
I'm super excited for this one because this is one of my favorite movies of all time. We are jumping into the 1975 classic, blockbuster classic, directed by Steven Spielberg.
E.T.
No.
Oh.
Dun-dun. Jaws.
Ooh.
Yes.
That's pretty good. So I hadn't really seen this movie before we started. I'll say that. I parts of it.
Sanity to me.
Kind of. But so I did watch it, obviously, for this podcast. And, there was definitely a shark. It was definitely eating stuff. I was happy to see that. I was waiting for the moment where the shark jumps over the island and the boy puts his hands up and it splashes over him.
You're thinking of Free Willy.
No. I deliberately remember a shark. And
Killer whale, but okay.
See? It's killer. So it's a killer shark, and that didn't happen. I assume that's Jaws 2, The Revenge. Jaws 3.
What, The Revenge?
The sharkening?
No, we're talking about one of the best movies ever made, which is what we're covering now, is Jaws. And then it's also funny in that same franchise, one of the worst movies ever made, Jaws The Revenge.
Nice. Well, that's good.
We're not covering Jaws The Revenge, I don't believe on this. Maybe we can do it for a goof at one point, but we're not covering it now.
Fair enough. All right. So with that being said, should we get into the recap?
Yeah, let's get into the recap.
Sounds good.
Movie recap.
So normally I would handle the recap on the show, but I feel like because this is one of Matt's all-time favorites, I couldn't do it justice. So Matt, feel free to give us a recap of the movie Jaws. Spoiler alert for those jumping from 1975 to 2025. Oh my God, it's the same number year. I mean, this is like an anniversary of some kind.
Yeah, it's the 50th.
50th. Whoa! And it's 4th of July.
And it's 4th of July week. That's what we're covering.
Really nailed this thing. Okay.
You can, and if you have Peacock, you can watch all the Jaws on Peacock. Certainly, they have them all on.
No, just stick with the first.
But stick with the first, the second, and if you want to, the third. Those are the ones you need to watch. The first one, if you're going to watch any of them.
Fair.
So the recap. So Jaws, 1975. Basically, it opens with there's a party on the beach. You get the movie opens with the awesome, well-known title music that they call it the thump thump, whatever you want to call it, the dun dun, the beautiful music by John Williams.
Pre-Superman.
Yeah.
I think pre-Superman was maybe
yeah.
actually, yeah, I think 78.
78, yeah. Cuts to a party on the beach. Two college kids, one very drunk, one girl jumps in the water to go skinny dipping. She's out in the middle of the water, all of a sudden gets dragged under really quickly, then gets pulled around through the water. They find the body the next day. People are like, oh, she's just torn apart. Is it a shark? Is it not? Is it a boating accident? The town is trying to cover it up. The mayor wants to open up the beaches on this small Amity Island in order to make the money for the summer. The Chief Brody, played by Roy Schneider, he's amazing in this movie, says, hey, we need to close the beaches. We need to figure this out. They really push it. We cut to 4th of July. The beaches are open. Everyone's afraid to go in the water because they're not sure exactly what it is, but they get out there. Some hijinks ensue, but then eventually the shark does come back. They, at that point, they have to go out hunting. They hire one of the local fishermen, Quint, played amazingly by Robert Shaw, and Richard Dreyfuss goes out with him, who is a local shark expert. They go out hunting for the shark. They end up in a terrible situation. By the end of the movie, Quint's gone. Spoiler alert.
What?
Hooper's missing, and Chief Brody's left alone. And eventually, with the famous line at the end of it, "Smile, you son of a," and it actually gets cut off because you don't actually hear it in the movie. With "Smile, you son of a bitch," and blows up the shark.
I love how they cut off the B word, considering it's PG. It was rated PG, but they had no problem showing all the body parts, the blood, and
it was actually originally the movie was rated R. Now PG-13 didn't exist at this time, so there was no PG-13. It went from G, PG to R, so there was no PG-13. It was originally rated R. Steven Spielberg finally cut out, I think, about 7 seconds of film showing a man's leg in the water and removed some of the blood, and that's how they got the PG rating.
That's crazy because, this is, going into it, I assumed it was an R movie rather than I've heard in the little bits I have seen. And then, I was surprised to see it was like PG when I was going to watch it, and I was like, this isn't PG.
No, it's not, because in 1975 there wasn't a PG.
Pretty sure the Mighty Ducks is PG.
Yeah, no,
I don't remember anyone using an ice skate to cut off a leg, and that maybe no, I guess not. It didn't happen. No, Reed didn't really.
No, he didn't take off. He didn't try to stab somebody.
Because I was shocked at that one. It was gorier than I expected. Just the quick, just in my reactions to it, it was gorier than I expected. Just because of the rating of it. Before I saw the PG, I would have assumed it was going to be a gore fest, but the PG rating threw me off. But otherwise, too, it was nice to see going back to an era again of practical stuff, practical effects, and we'll get into that in more of the discussion too, and how they did the stuff with shark and fake shark. Who knows where one was what? But yeah, it was it looked pretty. It held up, I would say, just in the general, just watching it. I don't think it looked too cheesy for the most part. Nothing really threw me off of it. But yeah, overall, I thought it was. I'm glad I finally saw it in its full presence.
So you said because you remember when we originally said we were going to do this, you said you saw it in bits and pieces.
Yeah.
Did you see it on TV edited, or you just it was on parents were watching it and you saw it in bits and pieces?
Probably a little bit of that. Okay. Definitely some TV editing, and then also just some of the major parts. The famous when he's chumming the water and the thing and the shark. I saw that. That's a great scene. So, but yeah, that was So those I kind of knew were coming. But yeah, I never saw the whole story from front to end, and so but now I have, and no, I'm glad I finally saw it. It was definitely, I can see why it's classic. I'm glad we watched it on the 4th of July week. And
So, yeah, this is my 4th of July. I put this movie on. This is almost like a Christmas story for me. Like I put this movie on all the time over the summer, and I'll probably watch it 6 times.
all right, better 4th of July movie, this or Independence Day?
For me, I believe it or not, I like this movie better.
Wow. You know, say welcome to Earth.
Nuts. And listen, Independence Day is a great movie, but this is just a classic for me.
We're gonna take them down, take them out. Yep. I'd say you. Why do you Independence? Today we celebrate.
Well, for you not seeing this movie, which is like there's so many pop culture references. Like this movie changed a generation. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Independence Day really, yes, I know people quote it all the time, but this movie changed the way people looked at the water, viewed the water.
Well, Independence Day changed the way people view space in Area 51, and Brent Spiner. They knew him as Data, and now he's like the crazy scientist guy.
You're going to throw that Star Trek reference on there.
I appreciated Data. Okay, so we're going off track. So I think that was a good recap. It was a brief recap, but I think it's fair considering the fact that the movie was about 2 hours.
2 hours and 4 minutes.
But yeah, so in terms of like major plot points, it's only a few major things, and you hit all the nails on the head, I think.
And this movie was based off a book, so people who want to go read it, but the book is very, very different than the movie. There's a lot of extra stuff that was thrown into the book, more to get like the spice of the book.
Yeah,
they took the major plot points from the book and put it into the movie. And I think Spielberg, even the writer, said like the way that they took out the extra fluff and just made it more about the characters actually made it better.
Well, I heard the biggest the negative reviews I read on the book, which I thought were interesting, was like there was like 6 paragraphs in every chapter that just went da 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 da.
And unfortunately, the book was written. Book was written way earlier than John Williams' score. So
not to influence the score, but
no.
Yeah, I can't imagine. To me, that the score was definitely a part of it.
The funny part about the score is when John Williams originally played it for Spielberg, Spielberg laughed at it. He goes, "What do you really have?"
Yeah, that's funny. I mean, and here you are, like one of the most iconic themes of all time. You know, actually, I'll say this too quickly before we get into a formal discussion. But like, I will say, usually like John Williams' scores are like similar enough. It's like, I feel like this is the most different of most of them. Like, Superman has definitely ties with Star Wars. You can hear some similarities.
I think with a lot of like, looking at oh my God, why can't I think? Randy Newman, the guy who does like a lot of like all of his stuff sounds very similar.
Yeah,
it's all like it's very campy. Same thing.
Danny Elfman.
If you look at Beetlejuice versus like some of they all sound very similar. But I think John Williams is an icon when it comes to movie music.
He's good. Like I said, I just like this one because it was like, like even my son could watch a movie and I'd be like, oh, this sounds like, I think watch Indiana Jones. This is Superman. I'm like, good to hear. That's the same guy who made the Superman theme. So yeah, it was just funny that like a lot of the stuff sounds similar. This is like I didn't realize this way. I knew the song before I watched this movie and the theme, and I didn't know it was him. I was shocked to see John Williams doing it.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we'll keep that there. We have some topics of discussion that we're itching to talk about. And so stay tuned.
Romantic discussion.
And we're back for the discussion. So how do you want to do this? Do you want to... So guys, some things I wouldn't mind talking about, but I know you were chomping at the bit.
No, let's go. Like, because I love when you ask the questions and I can answer them.
So you just want to be the know-it-all that like everyone's like, oh, look, he's the brainiac of the show.
Sometimes.
And he's just...
Listen, movies. You got me in everything else. I got to do movies. Gotta have something.
That's true. I got you in looks, boy, 70. Yeah,
exactly.
You got movies. All right. So first thing we have to talk about, and I think I'd asked you this while I was watching the movie too, is how did they get that real shark to swallow that canister so he could shoot it and blow himself up? Like... this is probably before they worried about animal rights and stuff.
Yeah.
But I have to say I was pretty shocked that the shark would just do that.
Well, first of all,
paid well.
Well, first of all, there's only a couple of scenes where actual real sharks were actually injured, not even injured. Real sharks in the film.
They did use them.
They did use them. So the only scenes were some of the underwater scenes, and you can definitely tell the difference. So there's one of the major scenes where real sharks were used was they were originally going to do a Richard Dreyfuss gets in the water in the shark cage during the movie, and originally they were going to put like a dummy there and kind of they went over to southern Australia where there's a lot of great whites. They were originally going to put a dummy in there, coax a great white into attacking the cage. The problem is they couldn't get the dummy. So what happened was they dropped the cage in the water, and a shark actually went after it. But unfortunately, there was no dummy in the cage when he attacked it. So that whole scene where the cage gets ripped apart, that's a real shark.
Oh,
and it's a real shark flipping over in the cage. And after, there's actually one scene where the shark swims by and you notice like a rope coming out of the shark's mouth. That's actually a real shark.
Oh, wow.
But they couldn't get the dummy in there in time to shoot it. So originally, because in the book and in the movie originally, Richard Dreyfuss' character Matt Hooper was supposed to die in that shark attack.
The movie makes it look like.
That was a real shark. And some of the underwater scenes with the shark, and you can definitely tell there's different lines. It's a little bit smaller. The mouth isn't as big, but there are some real sharks. But originally this was a lot of trial and error. One, Spielberg thought he could tame the elements and he would make it work within the thing. And he realized, he's like, oh crap, I can't do that.
Yeah.
They were in talks about trying to train a great white shark to do some of these scenes. That doesn't work. So some of the scenes were filmed by famous shark cinematographers, but that being one of the major ones and where the real shark was used. Everything else was used. There was 3 mechanical sharks that were built for the film. One head was open on the left side, one was open on the right side, and then there was one that was fully skinned.
Oh, okay.
And everyone famously knows the mechanical shark was named Bruce.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It was.
Is that how they got is that from Finding Nemo? Is that why they called him Bruce?
Yeah.
I made a connection.
And also the name Bruce it's actually a tongue-in-cheek. It's a joke at Steven Spielberg's lawyer. His first name was Bruce. So Spielberg called it Bruce, or the Great White Turd sometimes, because famously this thing never worked. Now, when it was built, it was like state of the art. These things cost $250,000 each to make.
At the time, too.
At the time.
I got at least $500 million now.
Right. And they were like, it worked because when they tested, it was tested in water, but it was tested in fresh water.
Yeah.
Not salt water. Now they're filming in Narragansett Bay, salt water. They dropped the thing in the salt water. It wreaked havoc on all the electronics in there.
I don't know that. I feel like, salt's not a good guy.
Well, they tested in water. They figured it was water test, but the salt water killed the animatronics.
Yeah.
But it was a happy accident because the shark was supposed to be, the shark only had 4 minutes of screen time in the whole movie. I don't know if you realize that or not.
Really? Oh, I guess, wow. Well, you know what it is? A lot of what I do like about it was good, probably save money, but I like a lot of the times you see the shark, it's from its perspective, so that was a good movie.
Well, that too, and Spielberg was filming wanted people to feel like they were treading water. Most of this film was done with handheld cameras. It's probably the most expensive handheld shot film ever made.
That's why I guess it probably adds off why it's so great.
But also, a lot of the scenes and a lot of it, you didn't see the shark a lot. It built the suspense. Not having the shark work was actually a happy accident.
Yeah, I agree.
Because you don't see him. What you don't see is what's the more frightening thing, and Spielberg even said that.
Yeah, I agree. Just getting pulled down without seeing the shark. It's funny too. The only real scene I think that was really oh come on with the fake shark was when it's coming over the back of the boat. At the end, it's just right. It looks like if they do a big fake on the thing, it's just slapping around.
The thing that always killed me was, and if you notice with Bruce the shark, where his jaws connect, real sharks, it forms almost like a perfect point. His things to cover the animatronics, he almost had jowls. They kind of covered it if you look really closely at it. But I mean, for the time, and so still, that thing is still freaking scary.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's not like people were going to leave the movie and look up what a shark looks like on the internet. Spoiler alert.
There was no internet at the time.
But of course, that would fool anybody.
Yeah.
God, it must have been easier to make movies back then because nobody can call you out on your BS.
No, there wasn't. I mean, and it was still, the thing was still terrifying. And even though it didn't work, that was the funniest part. It was the thing didn't work half the time, but it didn't have to work because the shark there was always that presence. And that's the cool thing about the score too. Anytime you saw the shark, John Williams insisted the only time that theme is played is when the shark's coming. It's almost like the shark's dialogue. That's how you know the shark is in the scene, because in one of those scenes where the kids, when they're screwing around and they frit the fin, the music isn't there. But every time you see, next time, if you watch it again, and any of the listeners who watch it, next time you watch it, every time you see the shark, listen for the theme. If the theme's not there, then the shark isn't there.
Interesting. So I don't know why there's a problem in the movie. Can't you just have the swimmers listen for the song? You're like, oh,
It's like in every other movie where the soundtrack comes on and then they turn it down. Yeah.
on the radio. It's just
Yeah.
There's a reason why they use that trope, because it's real.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. So that's good. All right. So I guess we'll move on. So next thing, I think we should talk about. I do like the interesting the dynamic dynamic between the three main characters. And basically, you have Brody, who's just like the outsider, kind of just coming in, and he's not, he's not really local. I think he doesn't even like water. I don't think, right?
He doesn't like water. He doesn't like it. Even one of the scenes is like, we heard about you, Chief. You don't like to go and you don't go anywhere near the water.
So what a great transfer he was into this. And then obviously Hooper Dreyfus.
Yep.
He being educated, he was kind of like the sarcastic, like, know-it-all kind of guy. And then obviously you had Quint, who was just the Tracito. Yeah. So it's just funny how these three end up just kind of working together on the boat, and they have their moments, but they obviously butt heads too. But so I guess the first question is, who do you think you can relate to the most as a character?
I think it's funny watching this when I was younger. It was Dreyfus.
Yeah, like I say, yeah.
Watching it now, I watched it. I watched it again a couple of times already, like this year, and I find myself relating to Rob Schneider's character as his chief of police, because here's the reason why.
Rob Schneider.
As I say, Roy Schneider, not Rob Schneider. Rob Schneider's the comedian. He's not in this. He might have ruined it if he was in it, to be honest with you. Roy Schneider, I find it with, Chief Brody.
I think it's Quint.
I will eventually as I get older.
I was going to say, as you get crotchetier.
Yeah.
I thought so. For sure you're right.
But why right now is because of, like, my role outside, like in my regular job, like it's people are always like, he's getting pushed, like he's trying to cover things, like he knows the right move, but people are always telling him like, this is what I need to do, like this, and everyone places the blame on him, even though it's not really him. The mayor's in the background saying we need to keep the beaches open. This isn't this. Everyone's kind of against the guy.
Yeah.
And it kind of feels like right now, like the world, like, and everything, like everyone feels this way at this point in time. Like the world's always out to get you. And I feel like that's how he was throughout this movie. Like he knew the right thing to do. He was trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
But he was always vetoed by other people.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point, Alex. Before you answered, I was going to say Hooper was for me, because I appreciate someone taking like a logical approach, educated approach into kind of solving the issues. That's kind of my job as a software developer, and all that sort of thing. That's kind of what I do. But now that you mention it too, as an adult, like you said, Brody being an outsider, pushing, kind of being pushed into something he doesn't necessarily want to do, especially be on a boat and all that. I mean, yeah, that's life.
That's life. And then and on top of it, it's like at one point he gets slapped by so one of the things that happened, one of the shark victims early on is Alex Kittner. He goes out into the water and he gets attacked, and it's one of like the first attacks that you see the girl get attacked at the beginning, but the shark's underwater and you only get it from the shark's perspective, and then you see her getting dragged under. This is like the first time you kind of see like a little bit of a fin, like the Alex Kittner getting attacked. And at one point after the attack, Alex Kittner's mother comes to Chief Brody and slaps him, which in real life, that took 17 takes, and she couldn't, for the life of her, the actress couldn't actually fake slap Roy Schneider, so he actually had to get slapped 17 times in the film, and she's like, it's your fault that he got eaten. You left the beaches open knowingly, and literally the mayor standing right behind him doesn't get attacked, but he's the one that told him to keep the beaches open.
Yeah.
And that's where I was like, wow, that's where I kind of made the connection. I was like, it's just like life slapping you in the face. It's your fault. It's not your, like, he was trying to do the right thing. Everyone's trying to do the right thing, and everyone wants to place the blame on somebody.
Yeah. It's funny because, to kind of going into another point I was thinking about for this movie is, the mayor and how he wanted to push, the narrative that everything's okay at the beginning and not everything was, nothing to worry about. And even when the people, had their concerns, reservations about going in the water, he make a big show about going into the water and getting people in there.
And notice he never went into the water.
Well, yeah, he's not stupid. But, and I drew a parallel. It's funny. Well, here's put it this way. If I watched this movie 10 years ago, I'd have a bigger issue believing people can just willingly wish things away and pretend they don't exist and everything else. But then, like, it reminded me of like the early days of the pandemic when people, there was and not to get too, polarizing here. I was just saying in the beginning of the pandemic, there's a lot of people that were just being like, oh, it's nothing, it's just a cold. And people went along with it and believed it. And it's just like, even though there was all this proof saying otherwise at the time too, it was still just, people would want to willfully believe that things are okay and go on their lives. And it's just kind of like where this movie was. It was just, I saw the huge, like, people are willing to be willfully ignorant to danger and just, like, it's easier than being nervous and scared about it. So let's just do it. So it was interesting. I was like, wow, it kind of hits home for, what we're dealing with now in the world and what we dealt with in the last 5 years.
Yeah, I mean,
it was interesting.
50 years later, it's still ringing true for a lot of things. It's just interesting that the stuff is still happening. You think like, oh, stuff changed, people get smarter. Yeah, still the same thing. You're still going through the same thing. Yeah,
it's like even outside the pandemic, it's just a standard government procedures to be like, nothing to see here. Just ignore nothing. Everything's okay, and people just go okay, and that's and they go on. So that was interesting that people, and obviously with Brody, like wanting to do the right thing, you can see it frustrating in his character. People were just, going in the water trying to get everyone out. And people are still just like,
people were just ignoring him at one point. He said, like, at one point, even with like the fake shark goes in with the kids do the fake shark fin and everything. And he's like, I don't want any horns blowing, whistles blowing. Everyone just ignoring him. Everyone get out of the water, blowing the whistles, taking them out just getting ignored as the chief of police.
Yeah, which is crazy. Yeah, I mean, it's funny, like, I growing up in a small town as you did, like, it's weird. I couldn't picture people ignoring like our chief of police. Like, that's just a weird thing. Like, that wouldn't happen. Everyone would have listened. So it's just funny, the community in there. The community too, we didn't talk about it though. Even though Amity was a fake town, it looks like it's got to be massive. It was shot in
it was shot in Martha's Vineyard, which was funny too, because some people in Martha's Vineyard were very welcoming to the crew. Huh. Other people wanted to know part of him, especially fishermen. Yeah, because and then this ran so over schedule and so much over budget that even the people in Martha's Vineyard were starting to get pissed by the end of it. They were happy to have him initially, but now they were like, all right, just get out.
I'm curious because I assume it had to been like, because if it was around anywhere near like 4th of July, that would have ruined like.
No, they made a deal with it ran a little slightly over, but basically the production told Martha's Vineyard, we'll get in before the tours come and get out before Lake, and they barely made that deadline. I don't even know if they did. I think they actually were still there filming when they finished.
That's crazy. That would be like before the 4th of July. Yeah, that means any water. It was supposed to be cold.
It was actually unseasonably warm during that time, and then when they were filming, that's why they tried to do it quickly.
That's cool. Yeah, that makes sense though, because that'd be freezing. Anybody who doesn't live in New England, I don't tell you, the water stays cold basically through mid-July.
Yeah, still cold now.
Yeah. So so that's so it's funny that like it was because New England town, and it's just like it was nice to see that kind of. I'm used to that, so it was nice to see. I didn't realize that it was like a I always assumed, to me, I never think about sharks being up around this area. So I always, heard about Jaws. I always assumed it was like down south somewhere. I didn't realize that there was such a danger around here.
No, we have some big, especially up in like Massachusetts and stuff like this. So say the second largest great white sharks have been spotted off the right off of Cape Cod right there.
That's crazy. Yeah.
And the other places in southern Australia. Those are like the two biggest spots for great whites in the world.
Yeah, that's I never would have guessed that. In Australia, everything's dangerous and wants to kill you.
Everything wants to kill you in Australia. Yeah, it doesn't matter where you go.
Yeah, gosh, first time I ever saw like an actual kangaroo, I was like, oh, they're not cute.
People are tough, man. That's why that's why it was a penal colony. They're tough SOBs out there. So
shout out to any Australians.
Yeah. Give you guys a lot of credit.
Down under.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because like even Quint's shack, his shark shack, they built that on an empty lot in the town. I forgot where that was filmed in. Was that Edgerton or somewhere in Martha's Vineyard? Because Martha's Vineyard is Martha's Vineyard, but it made up of different towns or locales. They started building that shack, and a town representative came over. Was like, you can't build a house without a permit. You can't do that. And they're like, it's not a real house. It's just for the set. And they're like, oh no. And so when the guy left, I guess a local came up to me. He's like, it's going to take them months to actually give you like a like penalize you. Just build your shack, shoot your films, and get out. And that's what they did. They built it, shot it, and then they took it down.
I hope because they're not doing the reshoots.
No, good thing they didn't. So, yeah.
Nice. Yeah. And so, let's see. I'm trying to think of. We have a few topics in front to hit. You had mentioned or watching because you're a history buff.
Yeah.
I figured it was worth explaining a little bit about Quint's USS Indianapolis.
The amazing monologue.
Yeah, because I knew nothing about this, and I was like, you're as like watching this, you're like telling me the highlights. So I got like the X-ray view of the scene right there.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That scene was, well, I'll explain like the story of the USS Indianapolis for those who don't know, and it's really kind of what drove Quint to be like to really to go after the shark, because that kind of built his character up. Even though it was later on, if it was almost halfway through, it was towards the end of the film. So the USS Indianapolis actually during World War II, that was the ship that brought the one of the bombs that was actually going to be dropped on Hiroshima to Tinian Island, which is just off the coast of Japan. It was close to Japan. So they brought it over. Following military code during that time was the ship had to speed up, slow down, run in a zigzag pattern. Going there, it did. Because Japanese submarines were big in that area right there, sinking U.S. ships. So once they had dropped it off, it was so secret nobody knew about it. The U.S. government did, but nobody was alerted. No other place, because it was supposed to. This was going to end World War II. On the way back, he figured I dropped the payload. He didn't follow those protocols. As he was going back, Japanese sub spotted the Indianapolis, shot 2 torpedoes, sunk the ship. Sunk in literally like 12 minutes.
Oh my God!
Like close to 1,600 men went into the water. Now they didn't. Oh. Kind of similar to the Titanic, it went down so quick they didn't really get enough time to get enough lifeboats, all the kind of stuff there. So men just went into the water. Some men, now where Quint, it differs is, he basically said all the men died from shark attacks. So he said 1,100 men went into the water. Only, I think, 200 or 300 survived due to shark attacks. Oh, wow. That's not truly what happened. Yes, sharks were involved, but men were drinking seawater. Men swam away trying to get to safety. A lot of men were killed by sharks. So only it ended up like 300 men ended up surviving, then went down.
Where did it go down? Do you know?
Right off like the coast, like right in that same area, like right in the islands, almost between Hawaii and Tinian, like in there. And once again, this mission was so secret that nobody was really alerted, and they didn't have time to send a distress signal.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until they reported later, they didn't report into their scheduled time. The U.S. government figured it was fine. That's why they stayed out there so long, and that's why so many people perished. So, but that's what drove in this, where Quint kind of exaggerates, or where the story takes place, exaggerates, is like everyone was killed by sharks, which wasn't the case. Men did die by shark attack. Yeah. But it wasn't all of them. But that's what drove him to become like this shark hunter.
Gotcha.
A shark fisherman. Which makes a ton of sense.
That's very
cool. The coolest part about that scene is that one, that whole scene came about because Bruce the shark wasn't working. So Steven Spielberg, in order to fill the time, came up with the monologue. Wow. Now, the other funny part was Robert Shaw is an amazing actor. Now, he passed away a few years after this movie was made, unfortunately. But he was a heavy drinker.
Could see that.
And 2, he had a lot of issues with U.S. Customs. He owed the IRS a lot of money. So on off days when he wasn't filming, they flew him out to Canada, because if he spent so much time in the U.S., they triggered like a lawsuit. So, but he did this, and in the scene, they're all drinking. Robert Shaw tried to do the scene drunk, and it went terribly.
Wow.
So bad that they were ready to like kick him off the movie. He literally called Spielberg later that night sober and said, "Let me film this again." In the morning, they did it again. And that's the one that's the cut that's amazing in that movie. It was so good that Richard Dreyfuss even said, like, when he was watching them, if you watch Richard Dreyfuss in this film, he's watching in awe. That's actually Richard Dreyfuss watching in awe of Robert Shaw's acting, because he did that monologue so well. And Robert Shaw and Richard Dreyfuss didn't quite get along all the time, because Richard Dreyfuss was a young and up and coming actor. Yeah. And Robert Shaw was a veteran, and they kind of went back and forth a few times throughout the movie.
And that's interesting. It's obvious too that like that whole scene, it's funny that that ended up like it did as like a contingency plan for Bruce failing, because like that added so much depth to the movie.
Absolutely.
Without that, I feel like it was there wasn't like, obviously there was like the prime directive of just like let's go kill the shark, let's killing people, but it's like that it's like it's such a deep story.
Or if you didn't have that story in there, I don't know if Quint's character would have been as Robert Shaw made Quint's character amazing, but I don't know if that would have. I don't know if
he would have been like a shallow kind of character. It wouldn't have been anything like So I like that. I don't know how they. So was that not in the book then, or do you think that was in the book?
From what I remember, I read the book a few years ago. I don't recall if that whole scene was in the book. I think it was. I know they were sitting there drinking. I don't know if he went in. He might have mentioned the U.S. Indianapolis. To be honest, I can't remember. People need to go read the book. The book, like I said, is not a bad read, but it's not the same as the movie.
Yeah. Is the book more of like a horror, or is it?
No, the book is more like a suspense. But like I said, the writer threw in there like the reason it gave a little bit more into like the mayor, why the mayor was keeping the beaches open. The mob got involved. And the mob had bought in real estate in Amity Island, and the beaches need to be open because that was their moneymaker. So it was a real estate deal. So the mayor was getting blackmail to keep the beaches open. There's also like a separate love story where Hooper and Chief Brody's wife actually have a fling.
I was hoping you were going to say Hooper and the shark, but
no, it wasn't Hooper and the shark, but they have a fling.
That would have been cool.
But
it like sharks though. It would have been cool.
Yes, but he didn't.
In tender moment.
But he didn't. But it didn't add to the story, and they took it out. That's why it wasn't in the movie.
All right, question though. Do you think then the movie would have been better if in the cage scene, Hooper put his lips just to the bars and the shark goes, "Nope."
I mean, at one point he does stab the shark because the shark gets all up in his business. So,
well, that's what I mean. So that would have been a very nice scene of him trying to be tender and the shark gets too aggressive and he attacks. That would have been a nice little... But
no, because in the book, Hooper does actually get eaten in the cage. And I told you, Hooper would have died in the movie if the dummy had been in the shark cage when the shark attacked it.
That's really funny.
So Spielberg let the character live because of that. Because the scene the shot didn't go the way it was supposed to with the real shark.
It's so crazy how like things come to be.
Because even in the even the way I think it was that awesome. I mean, but the way Quint actually went, because Quint said he'd rather drown. That's why he never wear a life vest. He'd rather drown than get eaten by a shark. And he even says it in the famous scene, which I love, where he puts his nails on the chalkboard when they're in all town is meeting, and he's like, "Shark doesn't tenderize, no shaking. He just goes swallow you whole." Like, and that's kind of the way he went. Just like basically like one gulp, bite, and he was gone.
Yeah. That was a pretty gruesome scene too for a PG movie.
Yeah.
Like this when he got like a good stomp on the blood just out of his mouth. I mean, so one of the things I did like about this movie too is like, because you don't get too many of these, but it was like a good man versus nature kind of thing. Especially like one of the older movies that I've seen, like that. It's just you see something like this compared to like, I don't know, like Jurassic Park or like The Revenant. I was like Jurassic Park has a lot of it. But anyway, my point is, it's just it was cool to see just like this basic, crazy, like animalistic, shark running through killing people and have to like, take what we have and try to combat it. And it was just I think it was pretty, I like the realistic struggle. It wasn't like, like nowadays if they did a remake, the shark would probably fly and have some lasers out of its freaking, of course. And, of course, Sharknado. Yep. It had a rocket launcher to finish it off at the end. But, I like, it was very gritty and like, they used the tools that were clearly there at the time. And, it was pretty, I like that. So
it was more realistic because like, I don't know if you remember like Deep Blue Sea. It was I forgot, it was like 2002. There was a movie like with LL Cool J and if
Sam Jackson too.
Sam Jackson, Thomas Jan.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, like they they tried to redo Jaws with terrible CG sharks, and the sharks were intelligently enhanced.
That's right. Yeah, they made them actually like smart,
almost like the raptors.
Yeah,
and
you're a lock of closet.
And it doesn't have the same like this movie, despite its quote unquote campiness, looks like it's feasible.
So, in kind of going to, do you think? Because one of we briefly talked about before too is. Hollywood likes to make money. That I don't. Spoiler alert: they like to make money, and when they see something that they can redo with minimum effort and make money, they do it. How has Jaws not been remade? Like, you think this would be such an easy cash grab at this point? Like I'm sure. First off, you wouldn't have to use any practical stuff. You just have a friggin' CGI shark that'll probably look real enough. You could easily recreate a lot of the scenes. You can, we have, you can picture like Jason Statham being like,
I mean, he did the Meg.
oh, right. I forgot about that. Yep. So,
And the Meg, too. The trench.
jeez. That's the big shark, right? That's
Yeah, the Megalodon, yeah.
Yeah. So I guess my point is, how is it not like, is it just because it make you a good point? Maybe those movies happened because, they needed to go, maybe a remake wasn't enough. Maybe they figured, no one wants to see a normal shark. Let's make Deep Blue Sea with smart sharks or the Meg with super big sharks. I don't know.
Why not, like, and I know this is going to come off as weird, but why not remake Star Wars A New Hope then?
And they will. Sure.
I mean, eventually, but why not? I mean, the effects are better. Like, it's a classic. First of all, I don't know. Like, I know for me, and I told you this already when you said if I won't go and watch it. I might go watch it out of curiosity, but I'm not gonna pour my heart and soul into the.
What if Steven Spielberg takes up as like either executive producer role? I don't think he'd direct. He'd take that, and Richard Dreyfuss has a cameo as like another character. Would you do it?
No, for me, this is kind of like, and this is another. We're getting off topic here. This is like Point Break, like when they tried to remake Point Break, and they did it with extreme sports.
I don't remember them making it. They redid it.
They remade Point Break with extreme sports.
Interesting.
It's not the same.
Well, I feel like that's not a remake anymore, though.
Yes, it is. It is. They did it verbatim. They just made it extreme sports. Their bank robbers do the same thing. You can't remake it. Like, I think even CG, like as good as CG is, like Bruce the Shark, despite all of his flaws and how much he broke down, and I know some of the autonomy isn't realistic. It's still as scary as hell. Like knowing that that's actually still in the water, like even though it's mechanical, knowing that that's still in the waters is I think more terrifying than.
But hear me out.
Yeah.
If you got the same production crew from like writers, producers,
I think you were talking about 50 years ago, right?
No, not of the movie. I'm not. Let me think.
Okay, sorry.
The same production crew, writers and everything else that redid Ghostbusters 2016 with women, which was the greatest remake of all time. And then you put you're looking at me funny. You got that I want to stab a short fat man look in your eye.
Go ahead, continue.
Wouldn't that be worth giving it a shot? See if they can redo it.
I mean, you can. I'm sure people would go and see it.
What if it was 3 women in a boat going after a shark?
Listen, women can do anything that men can do. I mean, I'm not saying that you can't. I'm not saying that you can't remake the movie, but you're talking about taking a classic, and retooling it. And it's for, once again, this is a 50-year-old movie. Are the same people who are still watching it? Like, I watched it, was in my, but like some kids, I don't know if kids nowadays would actually sit there and watch it. I mean, they might have to spice it up though, make it more, like I'm sure there'd be like electronic fish finder and depth charges or something like that to make it more interesting. It's once again, you're getting away from that man versus nature struggle.
Fair enough. Good. The callback to that. That was all right. All right, good. That's good. All right, I'm gonna let you have that one.
Thank you.
That's good. Yeah, I think you went back to my own point, and fantastic. Yeah, okay, fine. Yeah, that is a good point. It's like nowadays it would just be a joke. Like, all right, let's get a drone out over there and let's use sonar to see what we got left.
I mean, nowadays, like they didn't have now they have like the shark. Not that the suits would help. They have like the shark-proof suits. Like they're almost like chainmail like wetsuits that can stop a shark bite. Like not that it's going to stop Jaws' shark bite because a normal shark bite is 1.8 tons per square inch.
Why do you know that?
Because I did that research before we did this.
That feels like a fact that you still shouldn't have known from that.
I like sharks. It's almost Shark Week too.
Okay, I was gonna say. All right. Wow.
I like sharks.
I like turtles. Well, okay, that was interesting factoid. So yeah, I mean, but actually, that's a good point too. Going back to Shark Quick, I know we're kind of going over this. Did they ever explain in the movie like what made the shark different? Like between not only its fact that it allows to just eat the hell out of people, but also like it was just stronger and bigger. Like.
I think it was more just like more the creepiness factor. There's other fan theories that like, it supposedly like in the book, this took place off the coast of like Long Island, which there is like an island there that does some research, some radioactive stuff. Maybe it swam in those waters. There could be a lot of different things. I don't know if there's ever been a 25-foot shark, and supposedly Jaws is 25 feet long.
Yeah,
I mean, most of the time you've seen 20, 21 feet, 25 feet is a pretty big shark.
I've seen bigger.
Yeah, I'm sure you have in all your research. But
I don't know how hard their bites are. Right?
For one point,
because it was good. Yeah, I mean,
But there's nothing really that kind of explains it in the movie. It's just a really big shark. I mean, and like once again, there's still talk like, do megalodons exist? Maybe in the Mariana Trench. Maybe they went down underwater, close to where the water's a little bit warmer because you're going down to the center of the, towards the center of the earth. But why isn't one washed up?
Here's the movie I want.
Yep.
I want the prequel to the Meg. Is a spin-off movie of Jaws and Godzilla. Jaws mates with Godzilla, makes a megalodon. And that's how the megalodon gets paid.
Once again, you're talking about this is the thing.
Just to stay him.
This is the thing that people will go and see.
I'm not gonna lie, I'd see that.
Do you see the Meg?
I actually have not seen it. No.
It's not good, but it's not. You watch you've
See the second one?
I did see the second one. I didn't like it as much as the first one.
Yeah, it didn't make our list for the better sequels than the originals.
No.
Jason Statham in both.
Once again, the sequels make sometimes more money than the original. It's more of a money grab because people will go see the sequel.
Yeah, well, so every once in a while you get a good sequel, like Mighty Ducks 2.
Yeah.
Come on. You gotta have Mighty Ducks 2. It had, who's it? That, Benny the Jet Rodriguez there, but he was the skater guy this time.
Yeah, it's true.
He couldn't stop. So, yeah, I think we hit a lot of the stuff we wanted to talk about. I think, it was a pretty good discussion. It's, we hit pretty much all topics about the, everything from the score to. Is there anything else you had, a good factoid you want to hit me with?
No, I think it was, I mean, like, once again, this movie, like, Steven Spielberg, only 28 years old when he directed this. He was the youngest director up until the guy who made, I can't remember the movie. The guy was 27 years old. He beat Steven Spielberg as the youngest director, and I can't remember them. It's terrible. I can't remember.
Something in recent times?
Yeah, it was recent. I can't remember what the
It wasn't Life of Pi, was it?
No,
he was
no. But he went for, because originally the scene where Brody's chum in the water and Bruce pops out of the water was one of the first times you see Jaws, and he got such a big reaction when he did like the test screening of it that he got a little bit greedy. And so that scene under the water where it's Hooper and Brody, and they go out looking for the shark at night.
Yeah.
There's a scene where Hooper goes in the water to see Ben Gardner's boat. Ben Gardner was one of the fishermen in the beginning. It's kind of a blink if you missed it type deal. You have to watch it a bunch of times to realize who Ben Gardner is. But he goes in the water. That scene, he wanted another jump scare. He got greedy. So the scene where you see Ben Gardner's head floating in under the water was actually filmed in the editor of this movie's swimming pool. She basically dumped a gallon of milk to give it like that murky seawater look. They put the bottom of Ben Gardner's boat in there with the head, and they had the stunt double do it. And originally the studio wouldn't pay for it. So Spielberg did it on his own dime and did that, but he did it in a pool.
I will say that was a good jump scare for me though, because
the problem was once he put that in the movie, and then it was theatrically released.
Yeah,
that was before you actually see Bruce for the first time. And
yeah, I guess
he didn't get as big a reaction for the Bruce scene as that scene, because now the audience didn't trust him. Because he did the jump scare and he's like, all right, so he's going to jump out again. So they were waiting for it.
Yeah.
Whereas if he didn't do that scene, I don't think it didn't really add anything to the movie.
No, it just made
but the first time you see him, I mean, and originally the Alex Kentner, when he gets eaten, was supposed to be much worse too. Like originally the shark was supposed to come up and out of the water like a great white and then come back down with a lot more blood. Now, one, it would have ruined the rating, probably would have kept it R. Yeah. But once again, Bruce didn't work.
Do they still have this thing somewhere? I feel like it found me.
I think the full scaled one, does do tours. Like it goes around, but I mean, it's starting,
it's a tour guide that talks to you and stuff.
No, then I think they did end up hanging up. I don't know if they made another one from one of the second Jawses. I think they ended up hanging up one in a museum. It's up somewhere.
I'll have to check it out.
But no, they did. Like I said, $250,000 a piece. I think they kept one of them. The full skinned one, I think they did keep.
That's right. Yeah, because obviously must have the one at the end where it was all like blown up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was. I think that's good. I'll be honest with you. I think I had my score in my head for the barometer before we did the discussion. I will say the discussion changed it for me a little bit. I'm not going to say for the better or worse, Kevin,
Okay.
but it did change it, which is rarity. So I appreciate your insight. That's pretty good. I know you're spoiled. There's a fan out there who loves your factoids, so we hear about it all the time. How great you are. That's why I love that you had that like last one ready to go. You're like, oh, the youngest producer. Spielberg. Yeah, so all right, that was good.
People got to know. Like that's the cool part about movies. Like if you go behind the movie magic, sometimes it ruins it for people, but it's cool to hear like how these things are made, and it's not just all like glitz and glamour. There's a lot of crap that goes into this stuff.
Hear that fan out there? The fan that likes this stuff? That's for you. You know who you are. So I'm going back to the actors too. I think there was could you picture anyone else in these roles? Because to me, I don't remember his name, but Roy Schneider. He was good. He was good as Brody, and I don't think Quentin could have been anyone else either.
Robert Font.
I could,
There's a couple of different people that probably could play it, but looking at how iconic the movie is now, I can't. It's like kind of like anyone playing Iron Man other than Downey, or anyone playing Wolverine other than Jackman. I mean, yes, could there be, but I think those three like have like worked so well together. But there was other people offered roles. I know Dustin Hoffman was offered a part. Supposedly it was Hooper. He didn't get it.
I could have pictured that. That would have been. I don't know how human young there, but like he is
there. Yeah,
brainy kind of.
Yeah. He could. I could have seen Hoffman playing. I mean, Hoffman's a great actor. I could see him doing that.
Definitely.
Robert Duvall really forced Spielberg to make this film. Like he's like made the film. Duvall really wanted to play Quint, but Spielberg was like, "You're too young." At this time, Duvall was too young to play Quint.
That's funny because I've always known him as like always being old. It's like picture him young.
But at the time, like this was, I couldn't picture him playing it. And one of my favorites, Charlton Heston really wanted to play Brody. And because
well, how old was he at that time?
I think he was old. He was probably
after Planet of the Apes, right? Because this would have been the early 70s.
But I mean, let my shark go.
Get your fins off
me, you damn dirty shark. I mean, I don't think he could have played it. And then Paul Newman was actually offered the role of Brody. And,
really?
Yeah, and he turned it down out of spite because he was. I think Spielberg he didn't offer. Newman auditioned for one of the roles in one of Spielberg's other films, and he denied him. So,
nice. Glad to know that people are so petty. No, that's that's funny. So that means these guys weren't necessarily the first choices for these guys?
No.
I mean, Roy Schneider, was he well known before?
He was big. He got this role because of the French Connection. He was very big in that movie, and I don't know if Gene Hackman, French Connection was a huge movie like prior to this movie. He played a tough guy in that movie.
Guess if I've seen that movie.
You probably have.
I've never heard of that movie.
You never heard of the French Connection?
No.
That's a good.
I thought it was a kissing movie.
No, we'll have to put that on because that's a good movie. It's got one of the best chase scenes ever, supposedly in cinema.
I thought that was Bullet and Steve McQueen. That was not.
That was, but one of the best. I said one of the best, not the best.
Because I'm first. I like Gone in 60 Seconds with Nick Cage. I thought that was a great movie.
Okay.
Eleanor.
Another actor that was actually, he told Steven Spielberg, I quote, "I know somebody who's an oceanographer. I could play an oceanographer." And Spielberg replied to him, "I don't want somebody that can play an oceanographer. I want an oceanographer." That was Kevin Kline.
How old was he though for that?
I think he was younger at that time.
Yeah, he'd be really young. So that would have been instead of Richard Dreyfuss.
Instead of Richard Dreyfuss, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, the only one I would have accepted was I would have played Hoffman as that role, but I think Dreyfuss was great. He had like the tone and everything I want out of it. Yeah, and I couldn't. I don't think I could take Charlton Heston seriously.
Yeah, I couldn't take him either. And then even still, there was other people that were, Jeff Bridges was supposedly offered the role of Hooper. John Voight.
Ugh, no.
John Voight was, he was. I don't think. I mean, I love Bridges, but I don't think he could have played no at the time. And then this is a very obscure actor. He was known for a very popular 80s show, Jan Michael Vincent. He played Stringfellow Hawk and Airwolf.
Yeah. Well, I love Airwolf, so he would have passed for me on that. Dun, 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 dun.
So it's not a movie podcast, but we could cover Airwolf for those young people.
That's one of my shows. Yeah, I was a huge A-Team in Airwolf.
Yeah, so
I was saying. I just so I like this. Like, Phil McTrout has like a picture like, "Smile, you son of a bitch." I just couldn't picture it. It just wouldn't work.
He probably would have. probably would have taken over most of the movie.
Yeah, no. Well, that's good. So, nice. So I think with that said, I think it's now time to jump into favorite scenes.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Favorite scenes.
And we're back for favorite scenes. How do you want to play this? Do you want me to guess yours first, or do you want to guess mine?
Sure, why don't you try to guess mine first?
All right, you're a tough man, because man, look at you. You don't look that deep. Kind of
Shallow. Yeah.
simple, maybe. Let's see.
Nice.
Simple man, simple pleasures.
I don't know if you're gonna get this, to be honest.
So here's the thing.
Because you don't in the movie that much.
No, I haven't seen the movie that much, but you throw me off big time because I know you're a history buff. So part of me wants to say the monologue, but also I know you like eating fish and things, so you want to see the part where he blows up.
I hate
sushi. Oh,
I hate seafood.
So I'm trying to think. So because here's my contenders. I'm going between. Because it's got to be the smile, you son of a beep. It's got it, or between I think it's also the monologue is a big one. I think that you could see you doing. But also I could picture you.
So just so you know, there's 2 monologues that Quint has in the movie. The biggest one is the Indianapolis one.
That sounds six to me right now. What was the other one?
The other one is in the when they're having the town meeting.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's the scene I'm going for right there.
What?
The town meeting.
I just gave myself away.
I saw it in his eyes. I knew that was it. You fell for it, you fool.
It's
That is good. What starts off like
it's great because the nails on the chalkboard and just some of the reactions from some of the actors and actresses in them, like it almost gets me aggravated because they're just talking and then but it's just great how he gets their attention and he just basically tells everyone like what it's for. Either you're gonna ante up or you're gonna spend the summer on welfare. There's too many captains on this island. I don't want no mates. Basically in that famous line for 10, that's 10,000 for myself, and for that you get the head, the tail, the whole damn thing.
Yeah.
And he's like, and he just goes to leave. He's like, ladies and gentlemen, chief. And he just walks away. He just basically tells me, you know what I do for a living, and it's just so badass. And he just walks out.
Yeah, so that's going. I'm glad so cool. That's a point for me.
I mean, there's so many good scenes. The monologue is good. And then, that ad-lib, that was ad-lib, by the way, from Roy Schneider. Like, you're going to need a bigger boat.
Oh,
that was in the script.
Huh.
He supposedly that was ad-libbed. He backed up and went, you're going to need a bigger boat.
That's funny. Because that's like
one of the iconic lines in the movie.
That is the iconic line. I'm pretty sure I used that in the opening of this episode. Yeah. Interesting. All right. So that being said, I guess my poker face. What is my favorite scene?
I mean, you haven't seen this movie that much. It's tough to.
I guess you're gonna have to use a noggin to figure out what sticks out. What do you know about me? I'm complex. I like sophisticated humor. And fart jokes.
Sophisticated humor and fart jokes.
Sophisticated farts. They have to have multiple tones.
Man.
Layers, if you will.
Your favorite scene, I would have to say, I think you like the scene. I think you like the scene at the end. I think you like that ending sequence, basically, where he says, "Smiley, you son of a bitch."
I don't like swears. I don't like derogatory terms toward female dogs. Therefore, you're wrong. My favorite scene.
What is your favorite scene?
Right before you talk, I love the chumming in the water scene, the dark jump scare, and then you're gonna need a bigger boat. I love that.
Was that? I thought it was gonna be too easy to do that one.
That's it was funny. As going this, I figured you would guess the last scene for me, and it probably would have been. That was my second favorite. I do like that. It was just a good especially in a time when because 80s had the action movie finale crazy one-liners like that.
Yeah,
I feel like that was good for a 1975 movie to have a one-liner like that ready to go. So yeah, I think and in a lot of ways it's almost right up there with Hasta La Vista, baby. So I would say I do like that, but I just love after finding out just in the last few seconds that was ad-libbed.
Yeah,
I like it even more now. So
that the writer of the original draws, Paul Betchley, he absolutely hated the ending of this movie.
What was different?
Because in the ending, Quint dies, Hooper dies, and to be honest with you, I can't exactly remember how the book ends. I don't remember if the shark even gets blown up. I don't think. I think the shark kind of almost gets away, from what I remember. I haven't read the book in a while, but he didn't like this ending for the movie. He liked the movie. He didn't like the ending. He originally wanted originally, and there was even talks of basically the ending was supposed to be the shark blew up, but then when you look up, remember Hooper was supposed to die.
Yeah.
What originally was supposed to happen, the shark was supposed to be blow up. Brody was supposed to be happy, and then all of a sudden there was gonna be several fins kind of swimming around him.
Yeah.
So that's kind of was going to be the happy compromise, but they didn't end up going with that one.
Why couldn't they just do one where like the shark was like, I just wanted to be friends with you guys, but you kept running away from me. That made me hungry and angry, and that was why I'm really upset.
It'd be like was it the Family Guy episode, Jaws and Bigger Jaws? Oh no, we have a common enemy.
Exactly. I'd say it just makes more sense, you know, because damn nature, you scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. So I think I won this round.
You did win that round.
And so I think next, it's going to be an interesting bromometer score.
Oh, yeah.
Stay tuned for the bromometer to get our official ratings of Jaws.
The bromometer.
Time for the bromometer. So, bro, give me your brometric rating of this. And for those who don't know, the bromometer is our way of rating movies from 0 to 100. 100 being like, yo, before you die, you got to see this with the best bro. Chill out and watch it and discuss. And 0 being, you know, you can watch it. Just don't tell anybody. Because you probably don't want to admit it. It's a guilty pleasure. Yeah. Let's not go back to that. People on the walls, pass up the life. See? So, but with that being said, what do you give it? I'm
completely biased to this movie. I love this movie, and I think some people say it's one of the greatest movies ever made. I wouldn't go that far, but I think it's pretty.
Have they seen the Super Mario Brothers movie?
I mean, yeah, I think it's a Super Mario Brothers movie. Luigi Mario and Mario.
Yes.
Yeah, and John Leguizamo. Yeah.
So good.
Dennis Hopper. For me, but this is still one of my all-time favorites. I give this movie a 97.
Whoop, whoop, whoop. Wow. Is that one of the highest you've done?
One of the highest. Yeah.
Wow. 97.
I love this movie. It's great.
Okay.
I mean, there's so many, now pop culture references. I think they still pop culture references, still considered pop culture, even 50 years later, but.
I feel like, so my score, I think it's going to be a little bit, dare I say, risque, polarizing, even a little, it's may give me some heat, as they call it. Boy. I give it a 7. Just kidding. No. I'm sorry, it's 79. I give it a 79.
What?
Okay, so here's the thing.
It's 79. How?
I have reasons for this. Before your crap, all the information and everything, it was a 75. So I think.
Oh, wow.
So here's my issue with it. And this is just me being me. This is good. This is because it's called the drama. I like this. There'll be a lot of comments coming at us. So I have it. It took too long for me to care. And
when did you start caring? And I think I have a feeling
when the end credits roll. No, I was like, oh, good, I can get up.
Then why don't you just give it a 0 then?
No, it's not. No, I really liked it basically from when they set out on the boat. So like the last 45 minutes, up until then, there's just so much okay, people. I don't know if it was just the time of the movie, the setting, and then when it was made, it's kind of like a perfect example. I'll equate this to Star Wars: A New Hope. Okay. Star Wars: New Hope. A lot of people say it's great. No, that movie is boring as hell until you get to
when they go to the cantina.
Even after that, I'd say probably basically when they leave on the Millennium Falcon for the first time after the cantina. I mean, it's cantina scene too, fine, because Han shot first. But the first thing is just it. It was just, it's boring. It took so long to get into it, and that's I felt like this. It was like I like the characters. It wasn't like it just didn't grip me. I was like, okay, I'm watching this because I have to for the podcast, and I want to get it all together. But by the time they got into the boat, the shark attacks were okay, but it wasn't really until they saw the camaraderie of them on the boat together, and then actually trying a couple of times and they had to interact with it, and they shot it with the air tanks to keep it afloat. That was cool. That got me.
So it could have been an hour and 4-minute movie, but would you have cared? Would you have cared about what was going on then? If they just went to all the action stuff, what would you?
No. I'm not even saying exactly. So I don't know if I just wanted to feel more dread in the beginning. I don't know.
Were you not watching this movie?
Yeah, I guess I don't know. So there was okay. So how many people died? 3.
There was 7.
Before they before 7 before they went on the boat, or not including Quinn.
No, I'm including Quint.
Okay, so
Like body count.
yeah, so body count before. So they had this.
So it was the girl,
Yep.
the Alex,
Yep.
the dog.
Nah, dog.
The dog still counts as a body count.
I'll count it.
The guy. Sorry, there were 6, not 7. The guy in the pond,
I'm gonna.
and then Quint. So sorry, 5.
So yeah, so 4 I'm considering before. So up until before, so because as I said, by the time Quinn died, I was interested, so I don't count that yet. So 4 deaths.
This is the movie.
I know. My point is, 4 deaths. It just wasn't like, you take something. Nothing was like gripping me to my seat. I was like, okay, there's a shark. I mean, even in a real world scenario, right? If you were to go in the water and there was a killer shark out there, and there's 1,000 people in the water, 999 are gonna be like, okay. So it's not like a huge threat as much to me. So I don't know, it could be the story. There's a shark isn't that intimidating to me. Don't get me wrong, I pissed my pants if I saw one in real life. It was coming at me. But like, I think it's because of the fact that it just didn't give me like enough dread. But I did like it, and maybe that's what it was. When the time they're on the boat, now it's 1 shark versus 3 guys, and it's like there's a real chance of danger. Stuff can happen. So I think maybe maybe that's what gripped me more. It's just when it was actually now it's gritty. It's between these 3 guys and this animal that's going crazy, and that's it. So I don't know. It just wasn't enough for me,
I don't.
Yeah, I know. This is
Understand? I guess there's probably a lot of people that would think that same way.
Yeah.
Where the year thing.
So it's like a 79 for me. I think, if I remember correctly, I think I gave Rambo, the first Rambo, around there. I think I was in the 70s for that.
Were you, or was it an 8? Maybe you were. I think it was I think you said a 70 or an 80.
So it's in the same range. That's where I kind of put it. So am I gonna watch this every 4th of July? Maybe if Independence Day, I can't find that on.
Would you give Independence? Never mind. It's a different podcast.
That's right. That's right. You can't
wait till we get to Independence Day.
Hello, boys. I'm back. We'll say, that would be interesting. Yeah. And the only thing else, no, I guess I can't say. I would say it's the same type of movie, but spoiler for that too. That proposed real dread. Like, that movie, you didn't know what was going on. Tons of people died in the first 25 minutes, half hour.
Independence Day?
Independence Day. All the freaking shit shooting at you. And technically, that's man versus nature too. The aliens are nature. Not our nature, but other nature. So, and they did not shoot that green at me. That's all I'm saying. So I will say,
nowhere in your mindless rambling did you come close to a coherent thought. I want you no poison. May God have mercy on your soul.
Our listeners are now dumber having heard what I said. Well, to each their own. I will say I appreciate the fact that you like swims and shit.
I can appreciate the fact that it starts slow, but I mean within the first 90 seconds, a girl gets dragged underwater. There's already a victim. Sorry, I forgot about her. So there's 6 victims.
It was just, I don't know. Wasn't enough.
It wasn't enough blood and gore for you.
Not the blood and gore. I'm not a blood and gore person. You should know. It wasn't just enough. It was enough to me to care.
Because if you saw the shark earlier, would you have cared?
No, it's just I feel like I didn't have any attachment to any of the characters, the setting, the scene, nothing. It's just like, if all the people got eaten by a shark, I'm like, at least there's more room on the beach now. I don't know. It just did nothing dragged me into really caring about the characters. Not until they were really pitted against us. That's why I really liked it from that point. So, and that's, to be fair, that's probably less than half the movie. It's about half the movie. And that's enough to pull me up to a 79. I think that was pretty good. That's, because you're right. I think, part of it, I think, is the time of the movie. I think movies back then, like I said, Star Wars was in the same kind of realm. Original Superman was in the same kind of time area, too. I feel like those, there was a lot of slower beginnings of those movies, too. I think, I'm sticking with what I said.
Okay.
79. That's a C+. Yeah.
I'm glad you know I disagree. But
so, all right. So I think that wraps up our show.
the last podcast.
And we're out. So get that Murdered right out there. The rest of the 8 episodes. And this is where we become, we're not best friends anymore. This is it. Yeah. Next week when we have 2 separate podcasts with separate co-hosts. It'll be interesting.
The old 79er.
Yeah.
One of the greatest films ever made. Okay. wasn't enough for me.
It was, I don't know. I expected more. Spielberg gave us C.T., gave us Indiana Jones.
Close Encounters, yeah. And Spielberg even regretted. He said this franchise went off the rails. He didn't take control of it like he did Jurassic Park.
Wait, Jaws?
Jaws, yeah. Because
Wait. Would you say he said it jumped the shark? Boom!
No, he said he was too young and he didn't, the rest of them started to slowly, they weren't as good. But Jurassic Park, if you notice, like Indiana Jones, he had control over and he kind of did all those. They're all classics. Jurassic Park, most of them, the first 3 were really good. That came out. So he kind of lost creative control over this one. So he didn't take as much hands-on approach as he did for these. So, which is unfortunate. So
I wonder if he would give it a 79 for his original.
No, I mean, it's for freaking sake. They're celebrating 50 years. People still go to that movie.
I mean, okay. Last thing, I promise.
Yeah.
It is a movie you should see. Everyone should see this movie once. Will you go back to it?
People do. This is a crazy part. In 75 when this came out, 67 million people saw this. This was the first ever blockbuster. That was literally a third of the country saw this movie when this first came out.
Well, to be fair.
And it changed the way people think about the water. People didn't go into the water.
I get it.
It changed Martha's Vineyard's a tourist. They went from 5,000 to 15,000.
And and to be fair, Independence Day changed the way I feel about going into space. I don't know if I want to go into space anymore.
Because that happens all the time.
Because it's good, SpaceX things happen. But the other thing, too, is what you just mentioned. I need to lose my point. 79. That's what I got.
All right, Jeff Bezos, let's wrap this up.
Yeah.
Space Cowboy.
So tune in next time. Happy 4th of July, everyone, if you're tuning in this week. And once again, we'll be launching our merch store this month in July. So look forward to that. It really helps us support the podcast, helps us keep going. And we think the shirts and stuff are pretty cool. We're going to start probably a couple designs and build from there.
Yeah.
And we'll do some shirts, hats, all that good stuff. And stay tuned to see our shining faces. Because soon enough on YouTube, we will be doing video podcasts. So for now, you can just listen to the audio. So with that, Matt, you want to take us out?
Everyone, have a happy 4th of July, you rebel scum. And watch the movies that you love and love the movies that you watch. Have a good 4th, everyone. Enjoy.
79.